Step out of the car!
I'm confused!
You're gonna be tasered! Help out!
You gonna lose your man.
I ain't gonna lose. Hands behind your back!
You do it. You take off! Stop!
If you've watched channels similar to mine in the past, you know that unfortunately, the footage we've just seen is all too common in America today. This particular cop in question has been notorious on the internet for violent body cam footage after violent body cam footage. But instead of facing consequences for his actions, it seemed like every time he made it into the public eye, he ended up getting promoted. Well, that all changed recently. Furman's criminal trial just ended, and he was found guilty on multiple counts. Sentencing is scheduled for later this month. We're going to break down two pieces of footage, one just 3 months prior to the ultimate confrontation that finally made this officer see his day in court. We're going to highlight what you can, should, and should not do if you ever find yourself in situations like these. This is Rights by Riverbeast. Let's get into it.
Isn't guilty, it's a design. From the trunk to the bag, they need probable cause. Rights by Riverbeast. Brush up on your laws.
We're going to start with the unfortunate case of Alicia Cook. This took place in April 2024. Miss Cook borrowed a friend's car to pick up her child after school. Unfortunately for Miss Cook, Officer Furman was on patrol that day. He must have noticed that the car Miss Cook was in had an expired registration, so he pulled her over for that. So, what was the egregious crime that Miss Cook allegedly committed to lead to what you're about to see? She didn't hand over her license fast enough. That's it. That's the basis for what you're about to see. I wish I were kidding. Somehow, that leads to this.
Can you, wait a
Hand me
minute,
the
my
key.
children is in here.
Give me your ID.
No, I'm not giving you mine. You have to wait.
Out of the vehicle.
Get your hands off of me.
You're gonna be tasered! Help out! Out!
There's Miss Cook in front of her children getting tased for not complying fast enough. It should be beyond obvious that this would not pass muster for a Fourth Amendment test of whether this force was considered reasonable or excessive. But let's break it down anyway. In any use of force analysis, the key question becomes, was the use of force proportionate to the threat at the time? And I don't know about you, but I fail to see what threat this woman sitting in a parked car with her children, who at most loudly said, "No, I'm not gonna," before he grabbed her. I'm not seeing a threat, but let me know in the comments if you disagree. In 1989, the Supreme Court heard Graham versus Connor. This case has been used in excessive force analysis throughout the land ever since. In Connor, the court made it clear. The standard is objective reasonableness. Specifically, would a reasonable officer facing the same circumstances have used the same level of force? And my God, I hope it's not considered reasonable for officers to deploy tasers on people for not handing over their licenses as fast as the officer would like. Under this standard, we look at 3 factors. Factor number 1, the severity of the crime. Here, pretty sure an expired registration in and of itself is not a crime severe enough to warrant the use of force. Which brings us to number 2, whether the suspect poses an immediate threat. Here, Miss Cook was sitting in a car parked outside a school with children waiting to pick up another child. At most, she was becoming verbally agitated by saying, "What are you doing? No, I'm not gonna." That is not a threat. Certainly not a threat to rise to the use of a taser. And lastly, factor number 3, whether the suspect is actively resisting. Again, questioning an officer, asking, "Why do I have to do this?" or "Why do I have to do that?" is not disobeying a lawful command and is not in and of itself active resistance. So by any reasonable objective standard here, Officer Furman had no reason to use force, let alone excessive force in this case. In case there was any doubt about this, in 2010, the Ninth Circuit heard Bryan versus McPherson, which has since become to be known as the taser case. Long story short, in that case, an officer deployed his taser on a compliant man, and the court ruled that the use of a taser is considered extreme force, and the use of it must be justified under the excessive force standard. So whichever way you cut it, Furman failed the test here. But like often happens in these cases, even though that footage was public, Furman was not disciplined at the time. And you'll see at the end of this video, when I give my recap, some of the highlights from other videos Furman's been infamous for over the years. But finally, that all changed after this next incident. So first, let's just get some things out of the way real quick. This is Dar Williams. He drove around a barrier he was not supposed to drive around, and he was driving with a suspended license. So right off the bat, not saying he did not commit initial underlying crimes. But as you're about to see, nothing warrants the escalation that Furman took.
Step out of the car for me.
And why am I stepping
Because
out
you're
the car?
refusing to provide information.
gave you my
I asked
name.
your middle name. That is relevant. And you're refusing to provide it.
Unfortunately, you could almost tell where this was headed from the beginning. It seemed as though Officer Furman was looking for escalation. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. He calls for backup. When his backup arrives, he orders Williams out of the car. Williams complies, by the way. He then immediately throws him up against the car, putting his hands on the hot roof, which, as you'll see, becomes important.
That is hot.
Okay.
Relax, hot. Relax. I'm not
Hands.
hot.
Okay.
Relax, hot. Relax. I'm not
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
You do it. He got me. He got me.
He dry stunned me from everywhere, from my arms, my legs, my butt. He wouldn't stop.
And then while Williams is complying and already being handled by the other officer and up against the car, Officer Furman puts his taser into his side, deploys it, and holds it for 40 seconds while his girlfriend and kids watch from inside the car. Notice Williams telling the officers, the roof is hot. Ow, he's literally screaming in pain. Furman doesn't care. Hands behind your back, hands behind your back. And then as he immediately deploys the taser, Williams is screaming, he's already got me, what are you doing? Now, we have to go back to what we discussed earlier and how we evaluate use of force. So right off the bat, was the force proportionate to the threat? First of all, I don't see any threat here. Williams was complying. He handed over his license. Apparently, he didn't give his middle name as quickly as the guy would have liked. Pretty sure that's not a crime. And when Furman told him to get out of the car, although really grabbed him and threw him out of the car, he complied. He didn't fight. So no, I think it's safe to say here that the use of force was not proportionate to the threat at hand. Now, let's give a little background on Officer Furman. He joined the Melvindale Police Department around 2012, and by 2016, just 4 years in, he'd racked up dozens and dozens of complaints from citizens, including accusations of excessive force. In 2016, Furman was accused of assault in back-to-back months. One of his own lieutenants witnessed him stomping on a suspect's head after he was already under control. Another officer testified under oath that Furman, quote, repeatedly went over the line. Sadly, but perhaps not surprisingly, it was not a Melvindale officer who reported this. It had to be a Dearborn cop who reported what they saw on the footage. So this Chief Hayes seems like a stand-up guy, so what did he do? He did the right thing. He suspended Furman without pay and requested that he be terminated. So what happened? I kid you not, 5 days later, the city council fired Chief Hayes. And one of the actual reasons cited for why they chose to stand with Furman instead of Chief Hayes? Money. Furman was responsible for almost 80% of all revenue generated from vehicle tows for Melvindale. So it would just simply be too big of a revenue hit to get their top towing officer off the force. But hey, at least to send a message they did something with Furman, right? Well, yeah. They promoted him to lieutenant. So now we have Lieutenant Furman roaming the streets, deploying tasers against people in traffic stops. Until finally, after all the footage and all the incidents, what happened with Drakkar Williams got brought to trial, and Furman finally saw his day in court. On April 23rd, 2026, Mark Furman was found guilty on 3 counts. Count 1, misconduct in office, a felony that holds up to a 5-year prison sentence, and assault and battery, somehow a misdemeanor in this case, for what he did to Williams back in July 2024. The April 2024 incident with Miss Cooks, somehow he was acquitted for that. Furman is scheduled for sentencing on May 29th and faces up to 5 years. We'll be sure to keep you up to date, and hopefully, if there's any justice, we'll hear he gets the max. How did this all end for Mr. Williams?
You're going to lose your freedom because you get to go to jail today, mother.
He had to spend money getting lawyers to fight the criminal charges, which eventually got dropped. But in this case, it turns out he did get the last laugh, ultimately settling the civil suit for $1 million. But it gets even worse for Melvindale. The insurance company that insures the police department in Melvindale, they decided enough was enough, and they pulled out after this Furman incident. Which means the department now either needs to find a most likely much more expensive insurance policy, or they have to self-insure, which can make costs astronomical and can bring down a department in the end. So most likely, as always, who really pays for this? The taxpayers. So other than some sense of feeling good that a dirty officer finally gets justice, what can we take from this? To me, it's something I've said in my other videos. If you ever find yourself in one of these situations, the two most important things you can do are make sure a camera's rolling, and no matter what you do not resist. If you resist, you give the officers the pretext for everything else they're going to do, and even if the underlying arrest was unlawful, once you resist, that is a new charge. It's not the fruit of the poisonous tree argument like many things in law. You don't get to say, well, you arrested me for something that I didn't do, so therefore I couldn't have resisted an unlawful arrest. It doesn't work that way. Think of this scenario. If every person was allowed to fight back whenever they thought an officer was simply wrong, there would be chaos. So as tough as it may be, and even though you may end up sitting in jail for a day or 2 or 3, think of the alternatives. If you liked this video and want to see more, please click that like button, share it with a friend, and most importantly, subscribe. We're so close to that 1,000 subscriber milestone, and I can't wait to bring you more of these. Until next time, know your rights. Hold the line.
Rules, hold the line. Silence isn't guilt, it's a design. From the truck to the bag, they need probable cause. Rights by Riverbeast. Brush up on your law.